Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are not on F1 22 here today, but we return for some iRacing action. And before I get this video underway, I want to say a massive thank you to you for everyone who commented on my last iRacing video, the very first one that I've done on this channel, who gave me so many recommendations. And really, it was just so nice to see the support on that video. And again, any recommendations you have, any advice you have for me for my iRacing journey, it really does mean a lot to me. It really does help me, and it really just transformed my experience playing this game. And I know a lot of people aren't fortunate to have this much advice coming their way, so I really am grateful, and I really hope you enjoy this content. If you do, please put a comment down below, give the video a like, lets me know that you do enjoy it, because I certainly do myself. And yeah, I've really been enjoying myself playing this game. But you can see, before we get started, you can see a nice little message from someone who I was actually in a qualifying session with. Shout out to Louis, or Lewis, if I can say that correctly. Very kind there. And yeah, my experience playing iRacing this week, this time we're in the Formula V cars, which you do get a handful of cars in the Rookie Series, which I'm still currently in. But the Mazdas, I really wasn't particularly a fan of. So we're doing an event here. The track rotates every single week. This time it's at Summit Point, and we are very close to getting out the rookies. I think it's this race and the next race, if we do it nice and clean, because it's all about the safety rating, which many of you kind of drilled into me from my last video. It's not about where you finish in the rookies, it's about how clean you are. And that's something I've been really working towards myself in these Formula V cars. Again, a massive shout out to Jochen. He's someone who's really helped me get all my settings correct for this game. And please, if you're looking to purchase iRacing, because it still is on a discount from Black Friday, please make sure you use the link down in the description and my pinned comment. He's someone who plays iRacing a lot, and I know it will mean a lot to him, because if you purchase iRacing through his link, he actually gets a lot of iRacing points, which he can use to unlock new cars and tracks. And I think he more than deserves it after the help that he has given me in terms of setting up this game. But yeah, we're at Formula V here. We're going to be showing pretty much one full race and a part of this first race here. The second race, which starts from around 6-7 minutes in this video, honestly is one of the most intense sim races I've ever had in my life, and I just absolutely loved it. And you might notice on the screen as well, with some of the overlays, a lot of people recommended me to use Race Labs, which there's a link down in the description as well, because I will be using some more of their advanced features in future videos. This really does transform the experience. It enables you to see so much more than what the game offers you in terms of the standings, the deltas. It just gives you a lot more information than the game does, which I am very grateful for. But you can see here, we got used to this track quite nicely in the practice. And in the rookies, as I said, it's all about the safety rating. You do get a handful of cars, but it's only once you get promoted out of the rookies, then you have access to much more of the game. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to have some nice clean races without any off tracks, losing control of the car, or any contacts, and get out of this as soon as we can. So we start on pole position with a fairly good lap here, and we're just waiting for the lights to go out. So everyone's now gridded up, as we now have 4 lights, and as they go out now, we get a pretty decent launch off the line. So we're just going to immediately take the racing line to the left hand side, and just hoping that this guy coming up here isn't going to be dive bombing me down the inside. I think I'm the only rookie in this race. You can see there's a mixture on the bottom right. You'll see from the overlay there's a mixture of other licenses in here as well. You can see someone has actually spun, and that has given me a nice clear track. So for the rest of the race, all I was trying to do was not to get any off tracks, any corner cuts or anything at all. You can see this overlay here again. That's something that's not included in the game. So that's actually from Race Labs. So please use the link down in the description, because many of the free features are very, very useful to have when you're playing iRacing. And I will be using Crew Chief as well. A lot of people have recommended to me. That's something that will be coming up in the future as well. You can see here now, setting a pretty nice lap, and every lap we did was just ultra consistent. You can see the gap is well over 10 seconds to the car behind, and a pretty much perfect race. And I think all we have to do now is do one more race after this, and we will be promoted into D class, so out of the rookies, and much more access to the rest of the game. And you can see the consistency was certainly on point. So driving really well, and I definitely think I suit these cars much more than the Mazdas. But this is now my second race. We actually qualified on pole once again, but we did have quite a few drivers in here. We're actually quite close in terms of the lap time, so this should be a much more intense race. So as these lights go out, now, trying to get a good start again, which we do initially get a really good launch, but the slipstream effect in these Formula V cars is absolutely insane. So we're going to defend the inside line here, force him to go around the outside into his turn one, and just outbraking him. I'm trying to get a good launch off this corner, which we do, but you can see he's right on my gearbox, and we're actually going to be showing you the entire race here, because although these cars are slow, I never really had this much fun driving a racing game for quite some considerable time. And no, open lobbies in F1 throughout the years have been fun, league races have been fun, but some of those moments have been quite short in terms of the intensity. But in these cars, with the slipstream effect and everything at all as well, it just makes the racing very, very intense. And yeah, these cars, I would describe them like Formula Ford kind of cars. I don't know if they're even the same, but it's only really third or fourth gear are the ones that you want to be using. You can see on the middle of the screen, we actually have the Race Labs RPM, which actually gives you quite a good amount of data. It gives you your position, gives you your gears, your revs, also your safety rating, how much time is left in the session as well, which is actually quite useful. But you can see, end of his first lap, it's going very, very defensive, but the slipstream effect, if you're within 1.2 seconds, you actually get quite a big slipstream advantage. And going down to his turn one, let's see what we can do here. And does he try and outbrake me on the inside? Yes, he does. We have to leave some room because we can't afford to get damage to the safety rating. And that's actually cost me another position. So now we're down into P3. Trying to go on the inside here, but just backing out of it again because we don't want to run the risk of losing any of his safety rating, because I'm so close to being promoted out of this division where I can get access to many more other cars and tracks that are freaking back on the inside here. But we're going to decide to think better of it once again, and what we're going to do is run into the back of it a little bit, which you can see has given me contact on the top of the leader. Has actually spun out here, but it has given me contact, but that hasn't affected my safety rating, because apparently if you bump draft someone, which technically that was, it doesn't give you any incident points or anything at all. So we managed to get away with that one here, and yeah, really for the rest of this race, it's kind of a tactical chess match in terms of where you want to be positioning, because you have a timer on the top left hand side of the screen telling you how many minutes there is to go, because quite often these races are either timed or you have to do a certain amount of laps. In these cars, it's about 12 minutes you have to do. You can see the slipstream effect once again, and go to the right hand side. See, it's car behind. He's going to make it through wide, though he doesn't, thankfully. And coming to his turn one, you can see he's bringing super late round the outside, but we get the inside line for the exit, and now we are back in the lead of this race. And you can also see we've actually activated the Delta within the iRacing system, which a lot of you recommended me to do and gave me instructions to do. So again, a massive thank you to everyone. And honestly, it really does make me happy to see other people enjoying myself playing other games, because I think I've said this for our last 3 or 4 videos now. The F1 games can be quite repetitive at times, but especially this year's title, F1 22, I've been very, very disappointed on how the game has developed, and I've really been enjoying myself playing other games as well. And I think games such as iRacing and certainly a lot smaller racing games definitely need to receive a lot more love. And I have to say, the multiplayer experience of this, apart from racing in the Mazdas, the rookies in the Mazdas, which does seem to be very, very dirty, I just really love the system you have, where you have to register for a race. And it seems like on iRacing, the higher your iRacing rating is, or your safety rating, the cleaner the races become as well, because you don't really get that far into the game unless you have been clean in the first place, or you're actually a good driver. So it just makes the racing a lot more satisfying, and I think this is something that maybe even open lobbies could be introduced to into the F1 series. I know we have the ranked game mode, but I just don't think that system that's used there is that doesn't really give you an incentive to play the game that much. I think having something like this, or maybe just a prestige or reward system you have by being cleaner in the races and getting better results as well at the same time, gives you a lot more access to more unlockable things and things you could have against your name where you really stand out in the lobby. It just something to promote cleaner racing, because I think that's something that puts a lot of people off racing open lobbies, especially myself recently as well, which we've had for years, but especially with this contact model, it just hasn't made it an enjoyable experience at all. But moving back to this, you can see it's now started to become a bit of a two-horse race in this one, running really out wide here, so you don't get a track limit for running out wide. On certain tracks, you would think that would be a track limit, but on this game, around Summit Point, which this track is called, you can actually do that, so you want to be taking it flat out. And the thing about these cars is that it's all about momentum. You can see we go down to the 3rd gear, not going down to 2nd, otherwise the car will snap out on you. And there's only about 3 braking points, so you really have to try and get that momentum and try and break a second of the car behind you, because if you can't do that, then you're pretty much going to be locked into battle all race long. And I was just looking at the timer on the top left hand side of the screen all the time, just wanted to be the car behind going into the last lap, because then you could get the inside for turn 1. And it's really easy to lose this car as well. It might look fairly simple to drive, but if you let the revs go quite high, I don't know if it has a diff, but the off diff, like you have in the F1 games, where you're off the throttle, it really wants to rotate quite aggressively when you're doing that. So you really need to keep as high amount of revs as possible within the car itself, hence why using 4th or 3rd gear as much as you can. Taking this completely flat out, using all of this track on the exit. It's a very difficult flat out corner. You can see the guy in 3rd place is lacking a little bit behind now, so again we switch on the straight, so it kind of feels like we're in a cycling velodrome kind of thing, Tour de France at the moment. We're just switching positions all the time, so we're going to let him have this corner, avoiding damage, but they're going for the switchback on the exit. Hopefully we have enough momentum to get ahead once again, but looks like we're going to be locked into place here. And this guy, Harry Yeno, was a very, very clean driver himself, so he actually decides to let me go. And I was hoping this could be the opportunity to actually break out the 1 second window. I was scared that I was going to get an off track here, but we managed to survive for another day, going completely flat out into this right corner. But going to, I used a tree as the reference point, and a very off-camber corner. It's very easy to lose the car through here, and just try and get as good momentum as you can coming off this corner, because this will be carried all the way down into turn 1. And you can see on the bottom right hand side, he's still within that crucial 1 second window. So it's like he's having DRS. When you're within 1 second of these cars, the slipstreaming effect is absolute madness. I don't know if it's like this for any other cars. Coming through here, taking a bit of a lift, so we actually missed our turning in point there because you have to turn in much earlier than you think. And then coming off here, he's going to get the move done going down to his turn 1. So it looks like we might have around 2 laps left after this, judging by the time on the top left hand side of the screen. So go completely side by side into this turn 1. Felt like I was actually quite a lot faster than him, because normally I was lapping within the low 27s all the time, as you saw for my first race. But here you can see we're actually costing each other quite a bit of time, but luckily everyone else is a fair distance behind. So just going to try and stay nice and close coming into this one here. You can see the slipstream effect even from here is absolutely insane. So we're just going to let him have this, not looking to overtake at this stage of the race here. And it's very easy to run into the back of someone, so we're just going to give him plenty of time here and space. So if we're in that 1 second, we will be closing back in quite quickly. So you can see really getting a good exit. He gets a really poor exit coming off this corner. And now Coates here, it's completely flat out. It should be flat out going all the way into his turn 1. And I have to say, I really like this track as well. Just the flow of it is really, really nice. Just the scenery as well. I know the graphics of iRacing are particularly great, but it's like I said before, I don't really mind that. It's about the racing, about the feeling of immersion and excitement, and the force feedback you have through the wheel. I have to say, it might not be as good as the Assetto Corsa, but you still feel super, super connected to the car itself. So we're going to make the move for the lead here, go back on the racing line quite cautiously, and I feel like next lap is going to be the last lap, so we might, or maybe should have, stayed behind coming into here, because you can see that slipstream effect once again. So I think next lap is going to be the last lap of this race itself. So I was just trying to extend this gap as much as I possibly could, because I felt I was pretty strong coming into this last sector. But you can see the slipstream effect is all over the back of me, trying to gain a bit of time for here. As you can see in the wing mirror, or the rear view mirror, we're gaining a bit of time here. You can see almost a second up faster than we were on our previous lap, and there's a little bit of a gap between us, so almost half a second here. But you'll see again how quickly he actually closes that in. So I was hoping that this might be enough to stay ahead going into this last lap. So go around this last corner. Do we take it flat out, go through to here? Yes, we do. So we absolutely nail it this time. And coming off the exit, you can see he's a bit behind. White flag on the top left-hand side. So this is actually the last lap of the race coming up now. So now we have to defend for our lives. Although this doesn't mean anything, it's just for pride at the moment, but we can't afford to ruin our safety rating, so we can't afford to be dirty or anything at all. So go into here, he tries to squeeze me, but we outbrake him going into his turn 1, trying to get the inside on this exit, but we're going side by side once again, which we've done many times throughout this race here. And going for Santander, I knew there was no real option to go around the outside here, so going through into here, we're going to give him this corner, but we're going to have to slipstream, so we need to get past him, because this is really the last opportunity. So go down the inside, going into his flat-out right-hander, and then what we do is we actually defend down the inside, give him no option to go down the inside here, because I felt like this was only really the last opportunity he could do. So really focusing on trying to get a great exit coming off this corner, which we managed to do quite nicely, because there's only really a couple more corners left. He's going to get a slipstream here, but if we cover this inside for the last corner, there is absolutely no way he could go around the outside. So I knew I had to get that move done here. See, he's closing and closing and closing. So he goes around the outside. We leave a little bit of room on the exit, and there's absolutely nothing he can do unless he gets a really good run coming off this last corner and coming across the line. Is it going to be enough? He's closing and closing, closing. Are we going to hit the line before he does? You can see looking on top of the screen. And yes, you can see again how much we actually enjoyed that. And I really, really enjoyed that race. And I don't know, maybe it didn't look that way, but for me, it felt like a very, very intense race. Almost crashed into him there as well, which would have ruined our safety rating completely. But that was one of the most biggest pieces of fun I've actually had for a very, very long time. And I can confirm that after this, we actually got promoted to D class, and I can't wait to do many more videos in future on this game. Again, a massive thank you to everyone who's been watching this. Please post out below any advice or anything you want to comment on my driving or anything at all to help make the experience even better as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for the support on my videos, and I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.